And welcome in, guys, to King Josiah TV. Welcome back, guys, to the show. This is the live cast of episode 25, guys. But before we get started, guys, this channel was created to influence the kingdom of Jesus Christ in your world. I am your host, Josiah. And before we get started, guys, I need you to do me a huge favor. If you're listening on YouTube, or go ahead and hit the subscribe button. But if you're listening audibly on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, go ahead and hit that follow button for me, guys. Let's go ahead and jump into this episode.
Watch giants fall like Goliath. David, I dance. This ain't no tick-tock. God told me that my steps was ordered. Walking in flip-flops. Chris Rock, how they laughed at me.
Community, Bill Carson, and Wes Huff. Billy Carson, he's if you ask me, a self-proclaimed apologist, historian that has been on the he's been on the Joe Rogan show, plenty of other podcasts. He has his own podcast and YouTube. He considers himself again a historian, apologist of the faith, and he's been for years trying to debunk Christianity. He says a lot of things, uses big words, and gets on platforms where people can't really definitively defend anything that he says. So he recently came head to head with somebody that's a real apologist, a real historian, somebody that's really taken their time to go into the history of the Bible and knows the manuscripts. So they had a debate, and this happened this last week. And when they had a debate, Billy Carson got completely embarrassed. I don't care what you say, he got embarrassed, and then he came out and then tries to sue Wes. He says he's going to sue Wes, the guy that was on the podcast when he was in. If you watch the whole episode, we're going to watch some highlights here in a second. But if you watch the whole episode, Billy Carson is calm. He's cool. He's not under pressure, but he's acting like they were trying to bum rush him, and he didn't get to speak his piece. And he was certain things were changed about what he was saying, what he was doing, which is completely not true. So, guys, without further ado on that, I want to play initially the first thing that happened this week. The big thing that happened was the actual where Wes came out and pretty much stated that he's going to now sue him. This is where Wes comes out and states that he's going to sue him for this.
Billy Carson is attempting to sue me. For those of you who don't know, I was invited to interact with Billy on a podcast that he agreed to come on. It was not his podcast, where he was notified beforehand who I was and what we'd be talking about. After that debate took place, Billy attempted to suppress the footage. That didn't really work. I've released clips from that conversation. Well, Billy does not want you to see those clips and has sent me a cease and desist letter. I was really hoping that this could be an opportunity for Billy to learn, to see the major errors that he's been repeating and turn this into a learning experience. I even offered to follow up with Billy in order to show him how and where he could find accurate and credible resources in order to make sure that what he was saying was verifiably correct going forward in the future. So he and his audience could learn and proceed knowledgeably. Billy did not agree. But unfortunately for Billy, agreeing to a debate, losing that debate, and feeling embarrassed about that loss does not constitute legitimate grounds to litigate. Billy, I will agree to all the terms and conditions of the cease and desist letter that you have sent me if you agree to run it back, sit down with me in person, and have another discussion. This is my formal response.
So we're going to play clips of the actual interview where they both got on there. They both had a debate. They both were going back and forth at each other. And if you watch this debate, again, you can tell Billy Carson is completely calm. Wes is completely calm. He's able to get his thoughts out, but every time he says something, you can tell he's stumped. Just pay attention to his facial expressions. I'm gonna let it play, guys, because it's gonna do all the talking for itself.
It seems that Jesus was not crucified, or that's not accurate.
Sure. And in my videos, and if you listen to the podcast, the statement is according to the Sinai Bible. Okay, according to the Sinai Bible, Jesus wasn't crucified in that Bible. That Bible predates the King James Version of the Bible. And the text there actually is about 12 to 14,000 differences between the Sinai Bible and the King James Version of the Bible, which came much later. And then also one of the things that were interesting is that they discovered the book of Jesus' wife, which is at the Harvard Seminary, which, according to some scholars, is a little controversial, but they claim that this is an accurate record that Jesus may have even been married, which then, adds more, if that's true. It's the Gospel of Barnabas. Jesus was.
I mean, he blows them up here, but anybody that sits back and actually believes that statement about Jesus being married, that's been debunked a while ago. I mean, I've read the studies on it. It's been debunked. It's something that, again, people try to use as a talking point to try to disprove Christianity, when, again, there's no factual basis in it, nor the person that wrote it or came to that conclusion about him. And I think it was Mary Magdalene. They said he kissed or whatever when he greeted her.
Wasn't crucified in that Bible.
I've actually worked with, there are two manuscripts of the Gospel of Barnabas, which we only have two copies of. One is in Italian and one is in Spanish, not to be confused with either the Epistle of Barnabas or the Acts of Barnabas, which are two apocryphal documents from the 2nd century. But the Gospel of Barnabas in particular, we know it's a forgery. In chapter 92, it says that Jesus spent 40 days on Mount Sinai, and then he came to the Jordan River and he walked to Jerusalem. But Mount Sinai is more than a week's journey away from Jerusalem. It shows no actual indication of coming from or even having knowledge of first century Jewish understanding. It actually says Jesus is the Christ, but not the Messiah. Whoever the author is, he didn't know that those were the same words. The Gospel of Barnabas.
And look at his face. Look at Billy Carson's face. When he's sitting there talking, you can see him pretty much like his brain is scrambling at this point. This is when you get somebody that's a real apologist, somebody that's a real historian that really knows their facts, comes up against somebody that's been literally spreading lies and deceit. And we're going to get to it here in a minute, is Billy's little response, but he's blowing him up.
Paraphrases Dante's Inferno, which was written in 1314. We don't have any evidence of it prior to the 14th century. So I'm a historian.
Yep.
So if there is something that denies the crucifixion, I want to make sure that I'm analyzing it and that the methodology by which I analyze it actually reveals that the content can be accurately tied to the event. We have single copies of the Gospels that can be dated to the 2nd century that all do have the crucifixion. I have a facsimile behind me of P66. This is a late 2nd century copy of the Gospel of John. I work with this particular manuscript. This is an almost complete copy of the Gospel of John, and it has the crucifixion. And so if we're relying on something,
and how he just is crazy how Wes has that stuff just sitting right behind him, where he's just showing him, yo, these are the manuscripts. These are parts of it that prove parts of the Bible to show Jesus was crucified. There's just so much archaeological evidence. There's so many things. I mean, even the History Channel, if you go to them, that's not a Christian website, will tell you Jesus Christ was crucified. He was a real man. And it's like, if you're ignoring the facts, it's like you're purposely trying not to see the truth.
Like the Gospel of Barnabas, which is not just that there's debate about it, it's that it's a known forgery. I mean, no one's referring to the Gospel of Barnabas as anything other than.
If you say it's a known forgery, yes, but I'm going to go with that.
Sinaiticus that I work with in my office. So I have it here. And the only reason I ask for clarification is because I want to make sure that what I'm addressing is actually what you mean.
Gotcha.
And not addressing something else. Because the Codex Sinaiticus in particular is just a Greek, it's a 4th century Greek manuscript. Mm-hmm. It comes from approximately between 325 and 350 AD. And its text of the Gospels reads almost identical to the modern Greek text that we develop translations from. So my curiosity is just simply in kind of exploring, when you say that it denies the crucifixion or that the crucifixion isn't there.
He's got no.
I mean, I can go on right now, Codex Sinaiticus, and I can look up the end of, say, Matthew 27, where it has Jesus being crucified, and that's in Codex Sinaiticus, or the John 19, or any of the other ones. So I think my confusion is that it doesn't read any differently. So actually, are you able to pull up a website? Would the viewers
I'm
or listeners or
I'm
whatever be
looking
able to
for
see
it
that?
right now.
My confusion is that it doesn't read any differently.
Where was that
I
piece
found
discovered?
the text where
He's not going to be able to pull it up. He's not going to be able to pull it up. Like, watch him. Just watch this here in a second. How his face, how he's. I wish he had pulled out, because the clip that I found, he's like, it's zoomed in. But if you watch the whole clip, Billy's got his phone. He's like typing and searching like chat GPT answer, and somebody actually looked it up, and that's actually what he was doing. So it's wow. Just watch.
actually I was misquoted. I misquoted there. It's the Gospel of Barnabas. Testimony about Jesus. They then just wrote down their eyewitness testimony on a piece of paper or parchment paper or papyrus.
But let's see what the book of Barnabas is, because that a lot of people don't know about, and a lot of people haven't heard about it. So I just want to debunk what he just said, because again, all this information that Billy Carson is saying is easily Googled, easily looked up. It doesn't take an apologist or historian, which I'm neither one. Guys, I'm learning this information, some of it along with you guys, and other stuff I researched, looked up, and learned over time. But this is stuff that Billy Carson is fooling people with. Again, he's putting he's trying to put out truth for a lie. I mean, a lie for truth. So the book of Barnabas, just want to read something on that, guys. Some stuff I found. Again, you can Google all this. One point that Ben Richard mentions is that certain Italian phrases in the Gospel of Barnabas manuscripts were barely used until Dante's Inferno, which was published in the 14th century, which is well after Christ. Furthermore, as Britt Mooney explores, the manuscript contains many ideas and reflections of Islam, which didn't exist as a religion until the centuries after Christ. So again, we're gonna get into this here, but it was pretty much the book of Barnabas was written from the perspective of a Muslim and somebody that actually went into that. Given the historical information, we know that the Gospel of Barnabas wasn't written in the first century. It wasn't even written in the right time frame, and certainly not by Barnabas. So how was it factual? How was it legitimate material to get source from? It cannot be a lost gospel because it was never lost to begin with. So that doesn't nail that in the coffin.
So these people,
right? So that's where internal methodological analysis.
Some of it's actually written down. So I mean, it's the same exact thing. There's really no difference.
Well, no. So you do internal investigations to figure out when something was dated. So something like
big difference.
So when I used that term verisimilitude before, that's something we as historians are looking for. It's a term that simply means the appearance or likelihood of truthfulness. So when you do historical analysis, it's an inference to the best explanation. So you have proof and you have data, and you're extrapolating that data on levels of probability. So some things can be confirmed as high probabilistically true, and other things are lower in their probability that they happened. But there are different methodologies, different ways that you explore historically how that happens.
Well,
so for the Gospels, you look at
with the Dogon tribe. Scientists went there to visit the tribe, and they still have no answers because they used their modern science. They took the best scholars to visit these people, and they're still scratching their heads.
You see the big difference between Wes and Billy? Billy throws out a whole bunch of skepticism. He throws out a whole bunch of big words. He said apologist, historian, all this type of stuff, but has no facts to back up anything he's saying. But he calls himself someone who is pretty much an expert on this sort of a subject. So regardless of what condition Wes was in, because we're gonna watch later, he's gonna claim that he was on his deathbed and he was sick and all that type of stuff, which I think is a load of crap. He can't back it up. And you see Wes there, not like he had this all written out. He's able to just ramble off facts and back it up with proof. Billy hasn't done that at all.
Something happened there.
Sure. And I'm not even denying that necessarily, but the question is, okay, we need different levels of evidence and exploration, not just scientifically, but historically, to derive something as eyewitness testimony. But when we talked about the crucifixion, everything you cited was either, and I mean with all due respect, false in terms of the Sinai Bible, because Codex Sinaiticus is just a 4th century Greek manuscript of the Gospels that we have today, or they were verified forgeries in terms of
Yeah,
the gospel of Jesus'
bro.
wife and the gospel of Barnabas.
You may be right on that particular part of the topic, but like I said, that's less than a tenth of.
You may be right. How are you going to say you may be right on the subject? Like, again, Billy Carson was found in his lies, found in his untruth. So guys, I tried to find the full response of Billy Carson, because after this he came out, respond, and told him to take down all these clips. I tried to find the full response. By the time I got to it, I was not able to find the full clip, but one of my favorite Christian other YouTubers, what do you mean, he actually did a really good review of this. So I'm just gonna share portions of his video, guys, with you. It's just good material. He really broke it down on how Wes responded, how he was acting. So we're gonna pull this up here. It's coming up on the screen right now. He got on live for 3 hours, guys. 3 hours to defend himself, and then gets at the end, he just really shows his character and really shows who he is, how he responded. But I'm gonna let what you mean explain it to you.
Lawsuits against everyone involved, the host, the opponent, and even the editor. But it wasn't long before his fans started turning
Yeah, after this, again, as I said, he put lawsuits on everybody.
on him in droves. They were furious that he wouldn't admit to an obvious loss. I had to unsubscribe. It's one thing to be a sore loser, but to not admit defeat means you cannot learn or grow due to no lesson being received. Billy, brother, I really want to see you win, but you're fighting against your own message right now. I hope you can recover from this, but you have to look in the mirror because this behavior is unacceptable. Really? Billy, you should be 100% honest when you discuss what happened. You are not building credibility, and I am a fan of yours. I used to like this guy, but literally 5 minutes into this video, I was done with him. But for some fans, the frustration went even deeper. Several other commenters pointed out something even more troubling about Billy's response. You should take this video down. Most of your fans are poor people. The poor people are the ones who made you.
It's just, man, his own people. There's people on his own YouTube channel that are commenting and saying these things. The fact that, I mean, you could obviously see if you watch the full 2-hour interview against Bill and Wes, where they were having, really, it was a conversation. It wasn't really a debate. That he had plenty of time to talk, plenty of time to get air in, and he openly admitted that, I mean, he was in defeat, but he won't admit it. He's not humble enough to say, yo, dude, this guy completely had archaeological evidence. He had scriptural evidence. He had the Texas Receptus, all these things that he was able to verify all his information. He had as well, I think he had the certain manuscripts, papyrus, to be able to verify what he was talking about. And he couldn't just openly say that, and your own people saw this.
Powerful. So what did Billy say on his live stream that drove his fans to say this? Well, it started with Billy unnecessarily and continuously humble bragging about how much money that he has in a way that felt tone deaf and out of touch with his audience.
We have 5 AC units, and I don't even know which one of them is acting up. I normally take the elevator upstairs. You know, I've had a chef for 10 years, and they like the food from coming over and eating the food at our house, and now they share our.
Like, dude, why do you flex on? Like, the fact that one interview you got exposed for being a complete liar, you get on here and you're just trying to flex and excuse my language, but crap on everybody for lack of better words. Like, this really shows this guy's character, and it's disgusting to me.
Our chef, you know, we are hopping off of a private jet. We relaxed in a huge 8,500 square foot mansion with our best friends on a tiny private island.
No one cares, Wes.
Actually sleeping in my movie theater. In my house, I have a movie theater. I'm sleeping in the movie theater.
But what really set fans off was his blatant mockery about those who he deemed poor, especially 9-to-5 workers.
This is what they try to do when you get famous. You see, I let a lot of it slip because a lot of these people are just ignorant, poor people. You know, they're just poor people. They're just ignorant. So I let a lot of it, you know, whatever, man. These people are just poor dummies. You know, what can you do?
So if you don't have finances, you're not intelligent. That's pretty much what he's telling his fan base, that they're not intelligent enough to be able to decipher truth from lies, and deciphering that you're a complete liar. Like, you're a complete guy that comes out here and is preaching your own narrative and what you want to believe.
You do. I make more money than rappers. I'm not a Joe Schmo 9-to-5 worker bee. You thought I was just some dumb black guy that just happened to get a little lucky with a couple of clips online and gain some popularity. Like Kendrick Lamar say, they not like us. They not like us.
Now, first off, you can't quote Kendrick while you're acting like Drake. And secondly, now this earlier comment suddenly makes more sense. But if obliviously mocking his fans wasn't bad enough, Billy took things to another level when he admitted this.
The money that you thought you were making and the popularity you thought you were making is all going to be spent on attorney's fees. And I don't care if I win or lose. I just want you to spend money.
Now, if you aren't aware, what he just admitted to was filing what's called slap lawsuits, which are designed to silence critics and burden the defendant with legal costs until they abandon their criticism. And he even went so far as to say that he's going to sue the host of the podcast for
$1 million. And
that's his friend.
Now, not only does admitting this,
like, that's his friend. Billy Carson, that's his friend. He says this dude lives down the street from him. He literally had to walk around the corner and knock on his door. Like, dude, no one's ambushing you. He was on, like, if you watch the whole interview, the dude sitting next to Billy Carson the whole interview was on his side, was backing him up, was giving him talking points to prove his point. The dude's wife that was interviewing him is Muslim, and he doesn't even claim to be a Christian. So it's like, dude, how are you being ambushed? But we're gonna skip forward just a little bit, guys. In this, we can get to the next part where they break what do you mean breaks down portions of the debate. And Billy's response. Sorry, guys, brief commercial. We are back in there.
Incredibly sick, claiming that he nearly died of pneumonia days before the debate. And he showed proof of this by showing this Band-Aid on his arm.
And being in that weakened state, which he knew he caught me at one of my most weakest states. He saw how I only weighed 206 pounds. And again, I was so sick and ill, to be quite honest with you. Maybe I did bumble my words a couple of times with the Sinai Bible or the Barn.
Anybody that's been around for more than 5 minutes and has seen Billy Carson, he has quoted multiple times the Sinai Bible on multiple platforms on his own live TV show. He said it so much. There's no way that, again, that he was misquoting himself. And then second, to try to claim that he was sick. Like, come on, dude. Come on. Be man enough. You being sick had nothing to do with it. I can be sick as a dog. I'm not going to start something that I'm very knowledgeable on all of a sudden become ignorant on. I might not be able to pull everything up and all this type of stuff, but I'm not going to be ignorant on the subject. And that's exactly how he sounded during this interview.
This text. It's quite powerful. I thought we were having a casual conversation on spirituality, and I wasn't really even fully in my right mind. I just almost died a few days before going to his house, literally. And so he took advantage of that.
Now, to be clear, I don't have any strong reason to doubt that he was sick and was actually in the hospital days before the debate. And by the way, I'm glad that he didn't die and he's better now. But if this illness really did cause him to get things wrong, then what's his excuse for saying the exact same things on podcasts before the debate?
Never got crucified. As a matter of fact, the Sinai Bible, Jesus was crucified. Well, that doesn't exist in the Sinai Bible. The Sinai Bible. But then you go to the Sinai Bible. In the Sinai Bible and the Sinai Bible. According to the Sinai Bible, Jesus wasn't crucified in that Bible.
And how was he able on the night of the debate to go to the host's house at 2:30 in the morning while the host's wife and kids were sleeping? And immediately after the host didn't answer, he had enough energy to do this.
I come back to the house. I'm extremely angry and I'm extremely frustrated that I wasn't able to contact him. His phone was in like do not disturb.
Like, again, this guy has been saying these things for a very long time, and he's finally been shown that he's lying, because as soon as he was pointed out that the Sinai Bible that he tries to use as a point of reference does not prove that Jesus did not die on the cross, it actually proves that he did, and he tried to switch it up and try to use the gospel of Barnabas, which he's never quoted or said before. It's just like, come on, dude.
So I tried to call first. I tried to call him like 4 or 5 times, evidenced in my phone records. I texted him 5 or 6 times. I also texted him a copy of my do not consent, and I WhatsApped him a copy of my do not consent form at the same time.
But even worse, he says that he's now...
I'm not the same almost half-dead person that you tried to talk to a few weeks ago. I've gotten my clear mind back. My brain fog is gone. My body weight's coming back. I'm lifting and working out every single day. I'm getting stronger by the second. I'm not that weak, sick person that just almost died. It was in the hospital, coming on a show on a video feed with a IV bandage on, literally fresh off the IV, tree, the big tree with all the different IV bags and all the antibiotics and everything else dripping into my body. Fresh off the bag, I'm in the studio, out of boredom, really, but brain fog, tired, exhausted, can't breathe.
But Billy, if you were this brain fog, if you were this out of it, if doctors are telling you not to leave your home, all this jargon that you're saying, then at the end of the day, you would have never been cognizant enough to even walk across the street. Furthermore, walk across after to try to contact the guy to the point to where you're going to his house. You weren't that out of it. You weren't that out of your mind. And the way that he looks now is the same way he looked in that interview. So I don't see how he's more cognizant now than he was then. I really do think it's a cop-out.
I only got about 2 more weeks of recovery left from this pneumonia, and I'll be full strength.
Now, if that's true, then why not debate again? Wes even offered to take the video down if Billy agreed to another debate.
Billy, I will agree to all the terms and conditions of the cease and desist letter if you agree to run it back, sit down with me in person, and have another discussion.
But it seems that Billy doesn't want to take that chance. Billy's second excuse for his poor performance was that he was ambushed. The only problem is he admitted to willingly doing the debate.
And then Mark gets this guy on the live feed, and he says, "Hey, we're gonna have a little debate." I'm like, "A debate?" He's like, "Yeah, we're gonna talk about this, your perspective of religion and stuff and so on, whatever." And I'm like, "Huh?" I'm like, "Okay, whatever."
So not only did Billy once again mess up his lawsuit by admitting this, but anyone who watched the debate could see that it clearly was not an ambush. It was one-on-one, with the moderator even siding with Billy at times. His third excuse for a bad debate performance was that Mark and Wes conspired to mess up the feed whenever he had something important to say.
And then what they did was, they're pretty slick. So every time I had something really important to say or a deep question to ask, defendant number 2 video would just magically disconnect. Boop.
And that's a load of crap. I watched the whole 3-hour debate, or 2 hours. I'm sorry. I'm misquoting the whole 2-hour debate. It only stopped like in the beginning. And the only person that got cut off was Wes. It wasn't him. And if you listen to the debate, Billy got to flesh out all of his points. He fully talked. No one interrupted. And there was a time and point which what he means going to bring it up here in a second, where he talked for almost 4 to 5 minutes, no interruption. And both of them did. It was an open discussion. They weren't yelling at each other. No one was cutting Billy off.
He's off again. Oh, man, he's off again. I don't know what happened. The first time it happened, I was like, that's strange, because it didn't happen when he was talking, and his video was very clear and crisp, like almost 4K.
But this doesn't really add up. The footage only shows Wes's internet freezing, and no one can even manipulate a live feed.
Just said that, guy.
This excuse only works for people who haven't watched the full unedited footage of the debate, which you can find on Wes's channel and is also linked down below. His next excuse was that no one let him talk.
I might have bumbled the Barnabas text for the Sinai text or whatever. It doesn't really matter. What matters is I never got a chance to answer any questions or get my voice heard. That's what really matters. But now I'm trying to ask my question. I'm getting overridden with other texts, other words from defendant number 1. He's overriding what I'm trying to say, everything I've got to ask. He's talking over me. I'm the person that's there supposed to be in this debate. I can't even get a word.
No one over talked Billy. I really encourage anybody that really believes anything that Billy is saying, go listen, dude. He was never being over talked. It was a discussion. Like, how are you blatantly gonna lie? Like, your viewers and us, you're literally calling, you're questioning our intelligence, and it's frustrating. It's like, come on, dude, admit to what happened. Let's move on with this. Let's, count your L's, dude, and do a second debate. If you got so much comeback, if you got so much to prove, you can dispose everything that Wes said. Have another debate with him.
Word in. And as soon as I say one thing, the other guy, defendant number 2, he's overriding and talking over me. I'm just sitting there patiently, just quiet. So I saw Dan at that moment. I realized, oh, this is a contrived setup video to make me look like I'm some type of dummy and I don't know what I'm talking about. So they can go bragging to all their Christian buddies and friends in their cult and, oh, he didn't know the answer to these 2 questions. Not really.
But anyone who's seen the debate knows that
Billy, it was way more than 2 questions.
This just isn't true. He had plenty of time to speak. Important times for him to make his case. He still only managed responses like these.
Referring to the Gospel of Barnabas as anything other than...
If you say it's an unfortunate, yes, but I'm going to go with that. Let's talk about the Old Testament a little bit. That's fair enough. I can respect that. go into the Old Testament a little bit.
And even in my last video of him, I have a clip of him talking for almost 4 minutes straight, uninterrupted. And finally, Billy implied
What did
that
I just
AI
tell
or
you guys?
deepfake technology was used to manipulate the footage.
This is a video.
We're going to skip forward, guys, to the end portion of this video where Billy pretty much just goes crazy. He starts saying stuff that's completely out of line. He starts saying stuff about Christianity that really shows his heart position. And I've told you guys this multiple times. If somebody is a believer, or if somebody spends so much time trying to disprove Christianity or disprove the faith, it's a heart issue. It's not necessarily an issue of facts or intelligence or having the information to be able to make a right decision. It's a heart issue that they have with God. It's a heart position. So listen to this. This is really going to kick that in.
Billy Carson. So as the live stream went on, Billy began to show more and more hostility towards Christians. He started by calling the God of the Bible a sadistic narcissist.
What is a sadistic narcissist? Let's take a look at some of the traits and see if we can compare them to this quote unquote God of the Bible. If your God of the Bible is so powerful, why does he need to kill everybody and have all these wars? You're all knowing, all powerful, all omnipotent, yet you can't stop one brother from killing the other one. Till this very day.
Next, he turned his attention to biblical figures like Abraham, mocking his faith and his character.
Now, the fact that this man was willing to do this shows me how ignorant he was. You see, that's the difference between me and this guy. Now, they will preach to you all this stuff about him being this great holy man because he proved himself to God. No, he proved himself to be a doggone idiot. Is what he proved himself to be.
And finally, Billy attacked Christians themselves, accusing them of being easily manipulated.
You've been heavily manipulated to the point where you don't even know who the hell you are. It's really scary that there's that many NPCs.
You know what's really scary is the fact that Billy has brainwashed himself to believe all this jargon and false dogma that he keeps spewing out to the world that's very easily debunked. Who's the one that's brainwashed? Who's the one that doesn't know right from wrong? Who's the one that's delusional? Who's the one that's ignorant? I mean, I could y'all say it.
Walking around on this planet. Drones. You people are drones, man. No empathy. I gave you the definition of that earlier. Sadistic narcissism, lack of empathy, controlling, quick to anger, jealous, envious. I am a jealous God.
What is Billy doing this whole time? He's quick to anger. He's been mad. He's been passive aggressive this whole response video. Everything he's saying, Billy has been doing. Everything you're accusing God of, everything you're accusing Christians of, you're literally doing. The Bible says a man that says there isn't a God, a man that says there isn't a God in his heart is a fool. And that's exactly what Billy is. He's a fool.
Didn't he say that? Some of you will, some of you won't. Some of you will still be stuck in believing the current ideology and dogma that you've been fed. How come I can see that and understand that, but you guys can't? And you're wrapped up in the actual religion itself.
And ironically, he also said this about the church.
The church itself obfuscates or suppresses information or changes things or forces things to not be released.
But this is ironic because this is exactly what he is trying to do with these slap lawsuits. So if it's wrong for the church to suppress information and not have it released, then why is he giving everything that he has to doing exactly that? He also goes on to talk about how God condones slavery, sexual slavery, and genocide, all of which I've covered in detail in a playlist.
Yeah, guys, we're gonna end that one there. I mean, guys, it's so evident. I mean, without even, again, being someone, you don't even have to be an apologist. You don't have to be an historian. You don't have to have any of this stuff to be able to see how this guy is, how he's responding, where his heart position is. Again, we pray and hope that Billy, that God does open his heart. Sometimes people have to fall face flat down. Sometimes people have to be embarrassed for them to truly come to Christ, because I do believe him coming to Christ would be one of the biggest stories, and he could be a great man for God. We just pray and hope that, you know, maybe something seeps through, that regardless of his anger and how he's coming out and how he's responding to people, that whatever's come out outwardly, that God's doing something different. And get out of here, guys. It's getting a little late. But thank you guys again for listening to King Josiah TV podcast. This is episode 25, guys. I will be back next week with you. Again, before I get out of here, guys, I ain't going to forget, if you're listening live on YouTube, go ahead and smash the subscribe button. If you hadn't hit the like button, why haven't you? That helps my channel out. That helps us grow. That helps us continue to push this content out to you weekly and daily. If you're listening audibly on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, go and hit that follow button, guys. I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. I'll see you next week.
When my salvation on me like it's a helmet. The way you to sin is death for send you to hell quick. Wanted to be all about me, God, I was selfish. I was rebellious.